It's just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girlz. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my co-host, internationally renowned numerologist, Patricia Kirkman, PK, all the way from Tucson. How you doing?
Absolutely fabulous. I didn't have to get a boat yet. I'm still watching it rain, but they're saying now that the hurricane part has gone past us, but we're in for a lot of rain yet tonight.
Oh, please send us some. It's dry as a bone out here. Our rivers are down to rocks. It's not good. So we'll take some of your rain.
Yeah, they were giving out sandbags and that to people today.
Ooh, scary stuff.
Yes, it is, but it's all right.
Water.
So far, I'm high and dry.
Oh, good news. Well, I'm so glad to hear that because, boy, we don't want you floating away. We need you right here. You know, I got to say, PK, I'm so amazed at your ability to just read people by the numbers. And I want to encourage people to call you for their own personal reading. But what you've done with Hillary Clinton, you've been on the show a few times talking about her just by the numbers, nothing.
Yes.
And now with all this other stuff coming out, these documents and these email dumps, and I mean, everything you said is absolutely true.
We've got her number. That's the way it is. We've got her number.
Yes. Good job. I mean it. That was really impressive, that what you did with that. And I'm sure we'll be checking in again because I know everybody writes to us and says how much they enjoy that part of the show. So as we get closer to D-Day there, we'll have you bring that back around. We'll see what's going on.
Oh, I've got to keep track of both of them. I have to remind and think to myself, Donald has to remember that loose lips sink ships.
That's right.
Just
That's right.
has a little getting away from himself there.
Got to rein it in a little. But your numerology with all of that has been so excellent and so interesting. So we're going to do this again.
Thank you.
You had a psychic fair on Sunday.
Yes, we did. And it was wonderful. It's back into that time of year where people are, it's a hard time to go away for a holiday. School's just starting, whatever. So we had a lot of lovely people there, old friends, new friends, and it's always neat to really get back in the swing of things in the fall.
It is. It's exciting. You know, the energy is going back into the roots and into the earth. And we also have something cool going on in October, the 26th and 27th up here in Western Mass. We have twin shamans coming from Peru. They're going to be doing private sessions as well as a ceremony. Now, I wasn't able to actually launch the brochure on the Supernatural Girlz website, but what I did was I posted a little bit of info and then my email address. So you can email me if you're interested. I will email you the brochure, which has the website address on it, and you can sign up right from their brochure. Makes it so easy. And they're not here very often. And I'll tell you another thing. I have, it's through all of my work in the paranormal world, it's very rare that I've ever met twin shamans that are female also.
Oh,
most of the healers are men.
Men, yes.
This is a very unusual thing. I'm so excited. I can't wait to meet them when they're here. So they're also going to be in the Boston area, but I'm pretty sure that one is filled up. But that's also on the brochure. You can take a look and see if there's time and space for you if you need to go to the Boston area. But if you're out in the Berkshires or anywhere near Western Mass, then we will be seeing you, I hope, up here Wednesday and or Thursday with a ceremony Thursday night. PK, I wish you were out here.
I wish I could. I wish I could.
Come on out. We'd love to see you out here.
Oh, I'd love to do the trip. Oh,
yeah, it would be great. It'd be great to have you here. So let's see. We got to check in with the numbers and see what craziness has been going on and what we have to look forward to. What's happening?
Well, today is the 7th day, so everybody's a little worn out, tired. People had difficulty sleeping last night, but it's perfect time for everybody just to kind of stop, look, and listen to what's going on around them. Listen to that little small voice inside you, because this 9 month in this 9 year has us being pulled in so many different directions that we're really not sure what or who to listen to. And that's really important. That upstairs gentleman that's overseeing us, we need to pay more attention to him right now. But tomorrow, different day. We're going to organize our affairs. And tomorrow, it's about our finances. We can't help it. We have to go from one day being spiritual, the next we got to remember how to put cash in our pocket. So kind of hold on to the opportunities for enlargement and opportunities that maybe past investments that you want to review or redo or cut away so you don't lose anything from them. Because success could be close at hand, but you have to know what your money stepping stones are. Increase it or decrease as is necessary. And besides that, you may find that you will gain more by assisting others this time. So just a thought.
That's been a theme, because I know we've talked about that for the last number of weeks, about 6 weeks, I think. You found in the numbers that it's saying help other people. So I guess it's trying to help us numerologically to reach out and give a helping hand to people that we can help. Some people can't be helped, but
No. But the 9 universal year and this 9 universal month, it proves even more that we have to take a little bit more time to take a look at what's coming about. And speaking of today being a 7-day, which is about the spiritual side, the young boy that was abducted 27 years ago, the gentleman came forward to say where he was and where he was buried today.
oh gosh, really?
Yeah,
What
so-
a thing for those parents to finally have, unfortunately, this kind of closure.
Right. Now, the
Oh,
mother had said
God.
they considered him alive until this took place, and now they have to accept after 27 years that he's actually dead.
How
What a
sad.
horrible sadness. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, but that's what the 9 number does, doesn't
Yes.
it? It brings these things out in the open and to conclusion.
Right. In 7, secrets are made known.
Oh my goodness. And yes, look at all the secrets coming out in the world.
Oh, yes, privately and worldly.
Oh, yes, indeedy. Wow. Well, that's a very exciting time. So that's good advice, as always, from you, PK.
Well, thank you, dear.
And
you've got some good info to tell us about, too.
we've got a really wild one tonight.
I know it. I think it's crazy, but
Isn't
wonderful. Yeah.
It's crazy fun. I love it. Now everybody, there was a blue alien seen walking the streets in Peru. And this is amazing. It's an amazing story. I posted this on our Facebook page. Go take a look if you'd like to see what this looked like. It looked pretty weird to me, and I think to you too, right, PK?
I like that shade of blue.
I do too. So this is what happened. All right. During the early hours of Monday on August 22nd, a strange looking creature, glowing blue with several legs and less than a meter in height, so it was a small guy, was seen walking around the streets of Pachacamac in Peru. And these night workers saw this thing. Now, it gets interesting here because the whole incident was recorded on video by a couple who also spotted the strange creature when they were passing by. And even more importantly, it was recorded on a gas station security camera. So, you wonder with some of this stuff, PK, is it fake? Is it real? All these idiots that make stuff up is just so muddies the waters. But on security cameras, that stuff is a little harder to fake.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So I watched both the videos, and I know you did too. It's wild.
I go, whoa.
Yeah. The night workers, some were apparently armed guards, were reported to have said they were not sure whether it was a creature or a robot. But as one of the workers got close to it, it started to fly and then disappeared. But other witnesses say it walked away, crossing the road, and then got rammed by a truck. So now they're wondering what the heck happened to it. Is it still around? Did it end up stuck to the front of a truck?
That's what I'm getting.
So anyways, there are reports coming in from all over the world of lots of UFO sightings, lots of creature sightings, and this is just another one. So there it is, everybody.
Well, just remember that 9-year is about all things that are different. It's the artistic side, it's the creation of numerous things, and it's the thing that books and movies are made from.
Wow. How about it, huh? Mm-hmm. Well, I guess nobody talked to this little guy, and he could still be around, and maybe he disengaged himself from the grill of that truck. I don't know.
God. Maybe if somebody would have been nice enough to take him home for dinner, that would have been nice.
You know, that's the problem here, is that nobody thinks to communicate with these things. They get all freaked out. I mean, hey, he's blue, so what? So
a lot of us have been blue, but for other reasons.
Yeah. So tonight we have a very important guest. We're very proud to have him on the show. His name is William Stillman. He is a psychic. I think he's a medium, although he doesn't identify himself that way, but he does speak to people who've passed. And since 2004, he's worked professionally as a psychic and spiritual counselor at Alta View Wellness Center in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And his accuracy in discerning the truth and making predictions that come to fruition has been acclaimed by his clients as truly extraordinary. He specializes in identifying clients' gifts and talents, as well as aiding discarnate spirits to transition to the heavenly realm. Now, William has also relieved others of the physical symptoms of pain and discomfort using prayer. And although he does not consider himself to be a medium, he regularly connects with loved ones who have crossed over. And he has been consulted on missing persons and unsolved homicide cases. And we have him here with us tonight. He has a new book out that's truly terrific. It's called Under Spiritual Siege: How Ghosts and Demons Affect Us and How to Combat Them. William, welcome to the show.
Hi, ladies. It's terrific to be back. I've enjoyed listening to your conversation about aliens, and it's interesting because I've had that come up quite a bit lately in my work as well.
Really?
Yeah.
What's going on? What are you getting in your work?
I actually was interviewed on another program last week, and that was the topic of discussion. I had not heard the story about the little blue man in, was it Peru, did you say?
In Peru, yes.
In Peru, I had not heard that story, so I'll have to look that up. What I was getting as you were discussing it with PK was that it was a scout, quote unquote, that was gathering information. And I've actually seen this elsewhere in terms of some scouts appear as praying mantis, and others appear in ways that would be defined as cryptids. And then I'm also getting a lot of clients who are having a lot of curiosity about extraterrestrials or feel as though they're being monitored or observed, and are feeling compelled to investigate time and interest and research in astrology, constellations, galaxies, and so on. So something's brewing. I'm not sure exactly what it is or where it's leading, but there's definitely been a spike.
Well, that's good. Because one of the things we've discussed on the show is it's disturbing to us that the extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, etc., have spent so much time and energy connecting with government and shadow government, and not a lot of time connecting with the rest of us. We're feeling a little left out. And we feel it's time for them to realize that the government is not their friend, neither is the shadow government, and we would like to know what they're doing. We would like them to come directly to us. And I think that might be some of what you're seeing with your clients, because everybody knows the government's lying to us about their involvement.
Everything.
Everything. That's right. You're right, PK. Everything.
Actually, something else that you might find interesting is that within the past year or two, I've actually had about 3 or 4 clients that I've had to tell, you're not from here. Originally, you're not from here. And it's such a relief for them to get that information that, you've lived elsewhere as a being other than a human being. And the interesting thing is that every time I give them that information, they break down and sob in relief that I've provided them with an explanation for why they've felt socially ostracized, why they're so confused and distressed about so much about human behavior. And the curious thing is that they actually look like you might expect them to look. They have sort of long, narrow faces and a sort of very thin lips and not much of a nose and large eyes. So that's been interesting as well.
Oh, my goodness. That is fascinating.
Yes, it is.
I guess, people have come in from other dimensions and other worlds and have lived on other planets. And then are you saying that they're just reincarnating here?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Because we are also, we're talking about hybrids and how some people are actually bred somewhere else and they're left here. But I think they know it. I think you don't have to tell those people that, right?
Yeah, that's something else that I was picking up the other day, too. Before I did this other interview, I actually sort of did a meditation on all of this stuff so I could be prepared going in. And that's something else that I got was that we tend to lump extraterrestrials all into one category, but they're really, many different races of varying intelligences.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I was getting was that, yes, they have infiltrated our population as sort of hybrids of half human, half another race, an extraterrestrial race.
Yes, that is a fascinating subject, a little terrifying.
Well, is there any way a person could tell if they themselves, like you say, some of them not feeling that they belong many times, but is there something that may be a trigger to know that you're a part of two different worlds?
That's a good question. It's not something that I've given a lot of thought to other than what these clients have told me independent of one another. They don't know one another about just feeling very displaced all of their lives and having trouble assimilating socially and being very confused by people who are aggressive and greedy and sort of consumed by a lot of negative sort of human or inauthentic values.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
it's been interesting, yep.
There's a few questions that we'll take in the chat room, but then I want to get back to your book because
Yes.
the veil is so darn thin. There's all kinds of things walking through. More people than ever before are reporting seeing unusual things. And I think more people than ever before are being affected by otherworldly entities in not such a great way. So it's a good thing you wrote this book so that we know how to protect ourselves. And this is a very important topic. But here's a question from the chat room for you, William. This is from Tessa, and she wants to know, does astrology tell us anything about life outside of this planet?
Goodness, I have to confess that I'm not the person to answer that question. I think maybe PK could. I really know little to nothing about astrology, I'm afraid, Tessa. I'm so sorry.
But I think that as far as astrology goes, it's what we visually see here and that we connect with. I think if we were looking from another planet this way, we might be looking at it in a different direction. There's so many different loose ends if we were to look backwards.
That's a good point. Yes. Well, here's a question from Joe. And Joe says, for what reason would intergalactic creatures have for infiltrating Earth?
Well, I think that depends entirely upon their disposition and their motivation of intention.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's so many different races. I remember Andrei Puharich identified, I don't know what it was, 70 or something. A friend of mine has a book of his that was never published about it. You won't give it up, but I believe there's more than 70 races that he identified. There may be more than that.
Well, I've got to tell you also, the other day when I was in this meditation, something came to me that just sort of threw me for a loop also, in that the nefarious of the races, and they're few. The good news is that there are more benevolent species of extraterrestrials than there are those that want to cause harm. But this is what I got in the meditation, so I don't know how true it is. But what was revealed to me was that there are some nefarious beings that have actually been accountable for cases of demonic possession.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that something?
That is something.
Darned.
Yeah.
Well,
Where it's really an extraterrestrial presence sort of manipulating the energy of a human being. And what I got was that from their vantage point, they don't see it as cruel. They see it more like dissecting a frog in biology class.
Oh, great. Always wanted to be on a lab table.
Right.
oh, man. That kind of stinks out loud. Well, but yeah, I can see why they would look upon us as an insect. I mean, they're
testing us,
further
like
along.
anything else.
Yeah,
Well,
I can
at
understand
that same point in time, William, with that being the case, is it because of their interest in us or because of their disinterest in where they live, looking for a new place to be?
What I got was, it was their interest in the energy that makes us uniquely human and manipulating and maneuvering that energy under their control.
Uh-huh.
Is it, I mean, some of these things out there, these entities, do they have souls, or are we the only ones with souls?
No, I believe that we all have souls, no matter who you are or where you come from, and that we are all accountable to God as the source of our creation.
So all of these beings all relate back to a God.
Absolutely, in my opinion. And I am by no means an expert, so I want to qualify what I'm saying. This is just what I got in a meditation the other day on extraterrestrials specifically. But I do firmly believe that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, we are accountable to God as the source.
That's interesting. And that gives hope that there'll always be a possibility of a very positive ending for all of us.
Yes, that's right. That's good. That's a good way to put it, PK. I like that. Yes. Now, William, you talk about how ghosts and demons affect us, and a lot of people that listen to the show understand that. They really get it. I know our listeners, our audience is very well versed in many things in the paranormal. But there is something that's kind of new that's coming about, and you mention it in your book, which is that there are a number of psychologists and psychiatrists who are coming to realize that these entities are real.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did talk to a psychologist in New York who told me this. He said, we get it. We think that people are hearing voices. They're actually hearing real voices. And it's not about them being insane. It's about them being able to perceive these other worlds, but they don't know what to do about it or what to do with it. So they get very unbalanced and they act in a dangerous manner or a crazy manner or whatever. But it was interesting to hear a psychologist, a PhD, say, we've come to this. But he wouldn't come on the radio to talk about it. He's like, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. But, secretly, we've all had these conversations with each other.
Right. I think that there are subgroups of clinicians. I don't think that it is widely accepted at this point, but I think that you could probably find people who would say that there is something to that. For the people who are grappling with those issues themselves, I don't think they're obligated to do anything about it. So I think that a really good rule of thumb to understand and to distinguish between what's purposeful and what's helpful and useful, and what is desiring to incite chaos and destruction, is that a loving presence will only ever be a loving presence. So what that means is that a spiritual energy that emanates from a source that is pure and authentic would never do anything that would be intrusive or disruptive or chaotic, or would never do anything to persuade or incite violence or harm in any way. And so if people are grappling with, for example, hearing voices other than the voice that they would use to talk themselves through something, and it's a voice that is very harmful or destructive, or is inciting self-deprecating thoughts, that's not a loving presence, clearly. And so then I'm leaning more toward that being a destructive presence, probably something demonic, because the ghosts, they sort of have their own agenda. And remember, they're one step removed from being human, so they still retain a lot of their human personality, and you can rationalize with them. They're very egocentric, so they're sort of self-absorbed with their own issues. But those presences that are causing people to think harmful thoughts about themselves or harmful thoughts about hurting others, those aren't ghosts, in my opinion. That's a bigger animal.
Do they get involved, seeing the ghosts or things? There's so much going on in this world with drugs or hallucinants and whatever. Do they use anything like this, or do they encourage people to use things like that?
Well, when you're talking about ghosts, PK, if they were people that were addicted in human form, whether they're alcoholics or drug addicts, they're going to try to gravitate toward and attach to individuals with similar addictions so that they can attempt to recreate the same sensation that they enjoyed in human form. The demonic energies will prey upon people who are grappling with depression or struggling with issues of addiction, because they're an easy mark, they're an easy target. So they don't have to work as hard to manipulate them. And ultimately, they want to escalate that into something more destructive.
Yeah, that's what I had anticipated you would be saying. And it's a shame, because how do you separate when they're going through something like this, what is part of what they're being pushed into, and the other part of what they themselves have let them down into that level that they can't get up?
Right. Well, I think oftentimes if people really think about it, and I spell this out in the book too, so I'm hoping that's helpful, there are symptoms that they can be aware of that would be signs, if they connect the dots, that there's something going on here that's destructive in nature, and it's worthy of your attention and looking for a remedy or an antidote.
I found that very helpful when I was reading the book, that you show ways of taking care of and handling things for protection.
Well, I wrote the book because I really wanted to give the layperson a very fundamental primer on spelling out what's what, and then how to feel empowered to reclaim your faith and reclaim your relationships and your living environment.
Yeah, that's wonderful to see.
It's so helpful. Well, everybody stay tuned. We are speaking with William Stillman. He's a psychic, and he has written a great book called Under Spiritual Siege: How Ghosts and Demons Affect Us and How to Combat Them. Now, if you want to contact William, you can find him on his website, which is williamstillman.com. And you are listening to Supernatural Girlz Radio. We'll be right back with another great episode here with William Stillman, Under Spiritual Siege. Send us your questions in the chat room.
You're listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network. Chicago, Illinois.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
My name is Ezra, and I'm from thehighendorg. You've heard of medical marijuana, but who can you trust for proper guidance? Here at thehighendorg, we have all the information you need. Did you know that scientists have discovered cannabis can reduce inflammation, pain, and spasms? It's helped my patients reduce the symptoms of autoimmune diseases, PTSD, autism, and insomnia. A compound from hemp called CBD is doing wonders for intestinal issues, anxiety, and the nervous system. I sell this compound at thehighendorg. I've worked as a medical marijuana consultant and educator for the past 6 years, and here at thehighendorg, I can help you choose from the hundreds of cannabis strains and products and find the ones that are best for your needs. To learn more about cannabis, schedule a Skype or phone consultation, or to have a CBD product shipped right to your door, visit thehighendorg. That's thehighendorg, all one word, .org. I'll help make your health high-end.
Hi, can you hear my voice? Imagine how many other people can hear it too. If you have advertising needs, then look no further. The Inception Radio Network currently has openings for on-air advertisements and radio show sponsorships. Given any thought to your target demographic? Inception has you covered there too. Advertising on a network gives you multiple opportunities to advertise on a wide variety of radio show broadcasts, and we have one to fit every advertising need. You know, in recent years, internet radio has exhibited a phenomenal listener growth. An Arbitron Edison survey shows that online radio boosts at least 33 million unique visitors each week and 54 million each month. And that number amazingly continues to grow. And these listeners are a part of many businesses' core demographics. And surveys have shown that internet radio listeners are far more likely than regular radio listeners to spend money on a whole range of activities. You know, internet listeners vote, they dine out and eat fast food, and they grab a cup of coffee. And here's the interesting one. They buy items online at a much higher rate than all other market segments combined. Internet radio also enables businesses to connect with consumers during work hours, where increasingly more lifestyle decisions are being made. Advertise with the best. The Inception Radio Network offers competitive advertising rates to fit just about anyone's advertising budget. Stop by today at www.inceptionradionetwork.com or call us toll-free at 1-888-919-2355. Get the word out. Get results with the Inception Radio Network.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our guest, William Stillman, who has written a tremendous book called Under Spiritual Siege: How Ghosts and Demons Affect Us and How to Combat Them.
Right.
So we need to know more. A lot more.
Definitely a lot more. I'm rubbing my hands. I can't wait to hear what he has to say next.
So, William, talk to us more about self-protection. How do we protect ourselves from these things that most people can't see?
Yeah. Well, I think that probably, in my opinion, the single most important thing that you can be doing is to initiate or reclaim a relationship with a higher power on a regular, if not daily, basis. Mm-hmm. Whether you call that higher power God or the source or the creator or Buddha or Allah or Wonder Woman, or I don't care what you call it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I don't care what you call it, just as long as you acknowledge it and acknowledge the presence that source of creation has in your daily life, and to be expressing gratitude on a daily basis, because what that does is it begins to create a spiritual reserve within yourself that when you are struggling or having a period of depression, you can sort of draw against that reserve like withdrawing money from a bank. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably the single most important thing that you could do. And it's actually the very foremost of the 7 steps that I give people for spiritual wellness that's in the book.
And I think it's great that you have steps that people can follow, and everything's very straightforward in what you write about. Now, give us an example, if you would, of someone you worked with who was suffering the effects of some type of entity bothering them, harassing them, or doing whatever it was doing to them.
An example of what that would look like?
Well, something in your experience, because I'm sure you've worked with people who you've had to help them.
Oh, most definitely, yes.
To get rid of
here
these.
in Pennsylvania, where I am, I'm actually affiliated with the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association as one of their paraprofessional resources. And so anytime that they get a case of a haunting or demonic energy, and if it's in my area, they'll forward it to me and ask that I follow up. So I'm thinking of one case in particular where there were voices that were being heard. There was actually a physical assault against at least one of the people living in this environment. This was in a trailer, believe it or not. And this was really, I felt, demonic energy because someone was being bitten, someone was being scratched, and the scratches were in 3 strikes, which in my opinion and my interpretation is a mocking of the Holy Trinity. There were...
Oh, that's what
Never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, there was a lot of disruption in the household with respect to, the manipulation of electricity and so on. Now, the interesting thing is that there had been someone in that household who had been an alcoholic and drug addict who was no longer there, but the current residents were still feeling the residual effects of that person having been there. And they knew that person. These were not new tenants. So it was someone that had lived there and then left, who possibly incarcerated, I think, if memory serves. But that's one example of this, some of the things that
Now,
might be
how did you
happening.
get rid of it?
Well, it's really not about me getting rid of it because I don't live there. They do. It's not my home, it's theirs. And so while I can facilitate a process, they've got to be present and participating. And this is why a lot of times people will call in a shaman or a holy person or a priest or a rabbi to clear a house, and it doesn't take, or things are better for a week or two and then they're right back to where they started. Well, that person, though they're well-intentioned, they don't have a personal and emotional investment in that household because they don't live there. And so I always insist that, anyone, 12 and up needs to be present and actively contributing to this process. So what I do is we first identify the problem. I ask that people be very transparent in talking about any abuse or addiction that might be in the household or any struggles with issues of mental wellness, because the more you illuminate the truth, the less there is an opportunity for anything nefarious to take hold and to manipulate information that should be shuttered or closeted or secreted away. So if you bring it out in the open, then there's no shame connected to it. So we do that, and then...
I love that. I love what you just said. That is such a powerful thing. Thank you for sharing that with all of us.
Well, I am blessed and privileged to be who I am doing what I'm doing. So I appreciate your validation. But I think that it's terribly important that people take personal responsibility and understand how their actions or their misconduct or their misbehavior directly feeds the negative energy. I think oftentimes there's confusion that people think they can behave however they wish, and there are no consequences to that. It's like a dog chasing its tail.
Yeah, like a spoiled child.
Well, and you mentioned secrets. There's so many people that keep secrets, and they're toxic. They're poison.
And so, if people are truly under spiritual siege and they're that desperate, they'll do it, and they'll come out with it. Which is, I think, extraordinarily empowering. And, when people are transparent in that way, it is just like this shower of golden light just washes over them and washes them clean and gives them the opportunity for a fresh start and a new beginning. And then directly from that process, from top to bottom, we go from room to room, every closet, every bathroom, we join hands and we say prayers together. And I'll take the lead at first, and then I'll ask everyone else who lives there to chime in and make their contribution. But by the time we're about midway through, I pass the baton to the people who live there, and I say, now you start. You say what you need to say. And it's an amazing process. It's not a once and done process either, as some people may think. I encourage them to continue doing it on a regular basis and to also look at what they can be doing to adjust and alter the climate and the temperament of the overall tone of the household.
What a wonderful ceremony that is, and how inclusive it is, and empowering for people, so they all see they're responsible. Yeah.
I'm chuckling because I'm remembering back on some of the times when we've done this, and there have been household pets that have actually come and sat in the center of our circle as we're saying the prayers.
Wow, wonderful.
They know what's going on.
That says
They
a lot,
absolutely
doesn't
know
it?
what's going on, yes.
Sometimes they're smarter than we are.
They are always smarter than us. Well, this is really great information for everybody. And now, I know when I've looked at people that have done drugs and are doing drugs, they have a lot of holes in their aura, which I would imagine entities come right through. They're attracted. And like you said, it's very easy. There's less resistance because the aura isn't whole. And I don't know, I haven't really seen this as much with alcoholics, but I'm sure it's probably the same. What do you think?
Well, when I see it, I don't see it as auric holes. I actually see huge black 3-foot-long leeches hanging off of them.
Ew.
Just sucking them dry of any positive energy. And you can see the desperation in their faces. You can see how worn out they are. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And yet they feel powerless to resist this hold that is over them. So I've got great compassion for those folks who struggle with addictions, and that's probably why I have a lot of great compassion for some of the ghosts that I've encountered who have been those really very angry, bitter, cynical young men who died from overdoses or were alcoholics or were murdered.
Yeah.
Is there a color that they could work with that might be helpful for them? Or when we're working with someone, is there any specific color that we could say, see yourself in this type of a light as you work with the rest of the process?
I think that's an interesting question, PK. It's actually something that I wrote down as one of my meditations just yesterday or the day before. I don't think the color is as important as the tone of the color. So I would say anything that is white, anything that is golden, anything that is a lighter hue, such as a rose color, a pale blue, or a violet color, anything that would be pastel colored, I think.
The sensitive colors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
Because they've already got a lot of gray or black or, angry red around them.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, Denise has a question. You kind of touched on this already, but I think it's worth revisiting a little bit. She's asking, what type of people are these entities attracted to possess?
Yes. Well, if we're talking about demonic and energies now, because the ghosts they sort of are, as I said, they're very egocentric. They sort of have their own personal agenda if they feel they've been wronged and so on. So at this point, we're talking about demonic energies are going to be attracted to, again, people who are struggling with issues of addiction. That's drug addiction, alcoholism. That also is people who have issues with money, gambling, running up credit card debt. They are also very cowardly, duplicitous, and deceptive in that they will target people who are weak and innocent. So they'll target people with autism who can't speak, who can't self-report what's going on. They will target very young children. And the interesting thing is they will also target people who are very wealthy and who are very famous and are in a position to dictate information to followers.
Wow. I never thought of that one. That's interesting.
Didn't either.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Oh, that's what happened with Hillary. Okay.
Maybe that's the reason. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, well, that's a very interesting perception, William, on that. So, because one of the things that I see with teenagers, young people, they want power. They feel powerless. And they want power. And if they've been picked on, bullied, whatever, I can see where that would be something that would attract an entity in, because they're saying, I want power. And these things have this kind of false sense of security of power. It's not a real power, but it looks like a power to somebody who needs power, wants it, and feels powerless.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what happened to me when I was that age. Exact same thing. So, these energies, they're very duplicitous. They will masquerade as something they are not in order to gain trust. So they'll whisper from the background of the music or the video games that a lot of these young kids are listening to, and they'll say things like, I'm the only one who really understands you, or I'm the only friend you've got, or they'll make false promises about power over your enemies or your tormentors, or we're talking about kids who desperately want to feel special to begin with,
right?
For perhaps being socially ostracized, but there's always a price that comes with all of that as well.
There's so much today with the zombies and things like that that never thought about that when we were kids. You'd hear about it once in a blue moon, but they've made a big deal out of it. I can't, even the kids in grade school, I'm hearing them talk about the zombie shows and they can't wait to see this. And I'm going, holy cow.
Right. So what's happening, PK, is, very slowly but surely, all of that dark stuff is becoming homogenized. And I talk about this in the book where I talk about pornography and how certain porn stars have become celebrities and how certain pornography companies have names that are, very destructive sounding. And it's all part of this sort of pervasive homogenization of things that are destructive.
Yeah, and we get desensitized to watching all of these things on television with zombie apocalypse and
Right.
Walking Dead. I mean, some of these shows they're really good, but in terms of the drama of it, but it is so gory, and we do get to the point where it doesn't affect us.
Zombies are in human form.
Yeah.
And so what it's causing, and I don't watch any of that stuff, but what it's causing is for us to become increasingly desensitized to other people in human form who don't fit within our agenda or our sort of system of what we consider to be right and wrong. And I think it's in part contributing to a lot of the desensitization around people going public with great acts of violence.
Well, I noticed one thing, that the youngsters, they don't get into a panic about death and dying as we would have if we'd seen some of these things when we were youngsters. But they think that a person's killed or they're run over or whatever, and they're going to get up and be there tomorrow because they see them in another show or another thing. So they don't think about them as having actually left.
Yeah, that's permanent. Yes. Well, it's an incredible. I mean, I can't believe the stuff I'm seeing on television these days. It's remarkable to me, and that parents allow their young kids, to watch this kind of stuff unmonitored. So, this is a tough question, obviously, in terms of censorship. You don't want to get into that, but at the same time, you don't want to open the door to ghosts and demons that feed off this kind of stuff.
Right. That's what makes it so wonderful. Your book is so interesting because it gives you opportunity to see, feel, and know what to do to protect yourself as well.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Bottom line is you can either feed it or you can starve it. And so if you feel as though you are under spiritual siege, you feel as though either you or someone in your family is really, really struggling, then clean house. You don't have to watch this kind of programming. There are other video games that you can play other than, Zombie Hunt and things of that nature. And, clean up your act, bottom line. The folks that lived in that trailer I was talking about where, people were being bitten and scratched and there were voices and so on. I had this conversation with them, and their response was, well, we like watching horror movies so much, not sure we can give those up.
Isn't that something?
Well, the shame of it is you're hearing 5- and 6-year-olds talk about this.
Oh, my God. Where are the parents, for God's sake? Well,
watching it with them.
Yeah, I guess, huh? How about it? That's crazy. Well, here's a question. This is a good question, too, from Power Struggle in the chat room. Power Struggle says, why do these demons hide behind dimensional mirrors?
I'm not sure what's meant by dimensional mirrors.
Well, maybe just mirrors. Go for that one, because it is known that entities can pass back and forth through mirrors.
Why do they hide? I think that if I'm not sure that they're hidden all the time. I think that the deeper you get, the more they're making their presence known. I'm thinking of what I experienced as a kid. It came through pretty loud and clear. There was no hiding. It was right out in the open. And there was something that showed up in my bedroom doorway every night, attempting to seduce me. And it was there for the sole purpose of recruitment, and to unite forces with it. And in return, it promised me power over the peers that were abusing me and harassing me and publicly mocking me on virtually a daily basis of my life for about 7 or 8 years. And so there was no hiding there. This thing was huge. It was about 7 feet tall, floor-length black coat, black broad-brimmed hat. It was a black silhouette, and it spoke to me telepathically. And I knew enough to resist it, but it gave me a taste of what that experience would be like because I casted a spell and it worked.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah, I was out on the school playground. I was definitely odd man out. And I was telling a couple of other kids how I was a witch and I could cast spells and I had powers. And there was a big fight that a bunch of boys were engaged in on the playground. And they said, well, if you can cast spells, break up that fight. And so I started reciting something. And in that exact moment, a huge gust of wind swept across the playground that stank like cow manure and sent everybody scattering.
Oh my goodness, it works. How about it?
That's a way to break up a fight for sure.
Everybody scattered.
Thing.
And so that's the point where I realized, wow, somebody just raised the stakes and this is real. So I knew enough to resist this presence. Come to find out, as I'm researching this book, thousands of other people saw the exact same entity that I did as a kid.
No kidding.
The exact same thing. And they call him Hat Man now.
Oh, yes. Yes. Hat Man.
Yeah. I just thought of him as the Dark Man. But yeah, I was stunned to find out that other people have seen the exact same thing.
Gosh. So did you ever find out where this thing was from? Was it interdimensional? Was it ET? What was it?
I don't think it was extraterrestrial. I think it was probably, a nefarious demonic force because of the stuff that I was dabbling in at that time.
Certainly. Well,
yeah, you were involved with the Ouija board, weren't you, for a while?
I was not involved with the Ouija board, but I was very much, I was a kid that grew up in the 60s and 70s. So at that time, you had the amazing Kreskin.
Yes.
and Gene,
right.
and Gene Dixon.
Right.
Yes.
And at the other end of the spectrum, everything else got lumped into the category of the occult.
Right.
What was called the occult. So I was interested in witches and witchcraft and demons and werewolves and vampires and ghosts and all of that dark stuff. And so naturally, because I was struggling at the time, socially and mentally, emotionally, I attracted dark stuff.
Well, that makes sense.
It does. It makes perfect sense.
Well, you had a strong entity around you that pulled you through that part, and look where you are today.
Well, you bet, because I could have very easily taken my own life, which is exactly what that negative energy wanted to begin with. I have felt absolutely insulated and spiritually protected all of my life, PK, so you're absolutely right on target with that, and that is what pulled me through.
Do you feel that what you've been through and knowing that has assisted you to the nth degree in what you're doing now? Because I'm sure from what you're saying in the books that you've written and things that are ongoing, that you've been very much a contributor to keeping a lot of people out of harm's way.
Most definitely. I've actually disempowered any hold that anything negative has over me by totally reversing the effects and employing it to my advantage. I'm grateful that it happened because there is nothing they can show me that I haven't already seen, and I'm able to recognize it in other people. So you're absolutely right about that.
That's wonderful.
It is. We need your help. I mean, there's a lot, like I said, there's, how do you see these things? You don't. And I think a lot of people too just feel that every thought that comes into their head is theirs, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
No. I mean, especially where we're talking about thoughts that are very self-destructive or thoughts that are telling you to harm loved ones or people even unknown to you.
I think when people get a thought like that, and I've had thoughts come into my head, like, and I'm going to tell you what I do. I say, where did that come from? That's not from me. And it stops. So more people need to question the thoughts that run through their head. Now, what Dahani Yawahu used to say, who is a medicine woman, there's one way you can tell if it's coming from you is that you feel it in a wave that comes up from the center of your being. But if a thought form is coming from outside of you, it comes in as a very jagged energy, very disruptive, and you can feel it that way.
Well, so, I think you'll also know because you'll hear it whether it's your voice or not.
That's
true.
Although some of these things come in your voice. Well, look, we are going to take another short break, and we'll be right back. We are talking with William Stillman. He's keeping us safe here. Under Spiritual Siege, How Ghosts and Demons Affect Us and How to Combat Them. That's his newest book. And stay tuned, everybody. You're listening to Supernatural Girlz Radio. We'll be right back.
Listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Just a reminder that Inception Radio Network is on Twitter. Follow us at I_R_N and keep up to date about who's on tonight, what interviews they'll be doing, who's guest spotting, what topics they'll be covering. Tweet to us, tweet about us, retweet topics to your friends, and most importantly, never miss a great show again. That's I_R_N.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
My name is Ezra, and I'm from the highend.org. You've heard of medical marijuana, but who can you trust for proper guidance? Here at the highend.org, we have all the information you need. Did you know that scientists have discovered cannabis can reduce inflammation, pain, and spasms? It's helped my patients reduce the symptoms of autoimmune diseases, PTSD, autism, and insomnia. A compound from hemp called CBD is doing wonders for intestinal issues, anxiety, and the nervous system. I sell this compound at thehighend.org. I've worked as a medical marijuana consultant and educator for the past 6 years, and here at thehighend.org, I can help you choose from the hundreds of cannabis strains and products and find the ones that are best for your needs. To learn more about cannabis, schedule a Skype or phone consultation, or to have a CBD product shipped right to your door, visit thehighend.org. That's thehighend, all one word, .org. I'll help make your health high-end.
Hello, Inception Radio Network. Would you like your favorite show to be played again live on air? Well, now the choice is in your hands with IRN's live request portal, an easy way to request your favorite show with a simple click. IRN's live request portal now gives you exclusive access to all the shows. How easy is it? Simply type a show name or a guest name, click request, even write a dedication message, and that's it. Try it now. Simply visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com, click on the live request tab under the show menu. Now playing your favorite show is just a mouse click away.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our terrific guest, William Stillman, Under Spiritual Siege, How Ghosts and Demons Affect Us and How to Combat Them. And what a great book that is, everybody. He's got a tremendous process, 7 steps, that you can use to keep yourself protected and safe. And it's very important in this day and age when things are walking through the veil, just like walking through somebody's screen door, just like that easy. So it's important information. And we're so glad to have you here with us, William.
Thank you. I'm having a great time. It's it's been a fascinating conversation.
What we were talking about off the air, I just want to share with everybody, is that right before we got on the air, I felt Becky Andreasen's presence. For those of you who don't know, Becky was a co-host of ours, and she passed away, unfortunately, in March. We miss her greatly. But tonight, her energy was coming through even before we were on the air. And we were all talking about is the fact that the first thing we start talking about is extraterrestrials. Mm-hmm. Which was Becky's big thing. And so, I opened it up to William, and we said, if Becky has a message or she wants to come through, that's fine with us, because we always love to talk to Becky. And the energy here with us tonight has been very expansive, very powerful. So it's been a little tough for at least me, I don't know about you, PK, but for me to keep a focus, because when you're with energy that's so much bigger than you, mm-hmm. it's hard to maintain a focus on anything. But I think we're doing okay. I think
we are, because we got grounded by William.
Yeah, I think,
you're
William,
sweet.
You're the grounding. Thank you.
Well, what I can tell you is that I feel very strongly that the dialogue we've been having this evening is condoned. And that it is part of illuminating the truth for ourselves and everyone listening.
Oh, that's wonderful. Good. Yes.
So we're doing good. All right. I like that. I like that a lot. So now, William, have you ever encountered anything that is reminiscent of some of the ancient demons that are very powerful?
Well, I'm not sure how I would rate on a scale what's very powerful and what's not. I know that in times when I have gone to help people to clear homes, there have been things that I have seen or heard that I would say are demonic. Once or twice it's affected me physically, where I felt a little weak in the knees. But as I said, I feel very well protected. And I go in having said prayers and blessings to protect myself prior to entering the environment. I go in with the desire to emulate the example set by Jesus Christ, and they know that, and they know who I'm there representing. And so I've seen imps scatter to the 4 corners of the room when I've walked in. There was another occasion where I walked into a 2nd floor teenage boy's bedroom and heard something jump out an open window that sounded like a cat had been scalded. So I think that in my desire to be of service and in my desire to be translucent and transparent about myself and my past and things I've done and said that I'm not proud of but that I own, there's a powerful and effective tool there. Because there are no secrets and nothing's shuttered or closeted away, as we said earlier.
And that keeps you solid. And that's so important. And exactly what you said. Nobody's perfect. Nobody says not making mistakes. We're going to screw up. But if you own it, you own it, like you said, William.
Makes a difference. Who wants to be blackmailed by a past
Yeah.
If you accept it as it is, everybody grows and goes forward.
That's right. I like that. Nobody wants to be blackmailed by the past. I like that, PK. That's a great way of putting it.
So quit doing it, okay?
Yeah, we're all going to quit doing it. And
Whoever you are, don't do it again, right?
I think the important thing here is to acknowledge, and again, I get such a strong feeling that this whole conversation is being condoned spiritually, but I think the important thing is to recognize that you don't want to be stagnant or static. I've known someone for over 30 years who is not a nice person. And in all that time, there's been no evolution. They've stayed the same. So I think that the important thing is to work toward evolving into an improved version of your old self.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
As opposed to the it always was and always will be.
Right.
People don't like to change, and unfortunately, until they do, they're never going to step out into the light.
Agreed.
Yeah, we need to get into the light. But again, it's all about self-acceptance, isn't it? And like you said, William, owning what you've done. Okay, I did that, and oops. Now I learned from it, and we're going to move on from here.
Look at the people who have successfully recovered from pretty severe addictions. They pulled themselves through. They had help, but ultimately it's up to them to make it happen. And, they'll tell you a lot of times, if you really talk to those folks, they'll tell you about feeling as though there was something manipulating them, or they were hearing voices telling them to do things, or they gravitated toward other people with darker or lower vibration energies. The old saying, there's a monkey on your back,
Yeah.
it's not there for nothing. Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting question from the chat room. They want to know, where do demons exist? Do they exist in a realm, or are they just around us?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that it's probably a lot like what we were talking about earlier when we said that we tend to lump all extraterrestrials into one category when there are really many races of varying intelligences. So the other day, what I got in my meditation was, the way they travel the universe, some of it is like using pen and paper to write a message versus typing on a computer. The outcome's the same, the method is different. So I think that when we're talking about demons, I think that we're talking about a number of categories, perhaps, and we're also talking about, the ability to traverse the universe and not just be earthbound or on the earth plane.
Okay, well, here's another interesting question. This is from Power Struggles asking, where do demons generate their power from? Were they given power, or do they generate it by attacking the living?
That's another interesting question. I believe that they feed from negative energy, and so it behooves them to attack and assault people. They feed on fear. They feed on negative human emotions, but I also believe that they are in servitude to a greater power. In the book, I talk about how children and teenagers who are willing to report their experiences with demonic energy talk about how these energies, if they give a name at all, it's a very ambiguous name, like X, or nobody, or zero, because I believe that they're not permitted to really have their own identity because of being in servitude to something else.
Okay, now this is from Denise, who's asking, does sage work for clearing ghosts and demons?
Well, Denise, my dear, I would never discourage anyone from using sage if that makes you feel comfortable and if you feel as though it is effective for you. But bottom line is, nothing trumps prayer.
That's exactly what I was thinking when she asked the question as I was listening to it.
Yeah.
And who better to know that than you, because look what you've been able to achieve through prayer.
That's right.
Thank you, PK. That's so sweet.
Yes.
Thank you.
'Cause another thing that people have, well, that's been actually romanticized in television is the use of salt as a protector. Does that work?
I don't have any experience with that, nor do I have experience with sage, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah, and Supernatural, they put the salt circle around people when the
Yeah.
hellhounds are left.
Well, I mean, I don't know the difference between that and hanging a wreath of garlic on your door.
I've got mine over my bed. It's okay.
I got plenty of garlic to hang. Yeah, so again, it's interesting. And I think a lot of this has to do with your belief system, too. I mean, maybe for Native Americans, sage is part of a prayer anyways. It's part of the ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
So it may work better for someone if it's in their kind of genetic history that sage is used as a part of prayer, cleansing, protection. It's part of a Native American way.
I was going to say, the Native American has always used that.
Yes. So
yes, but
yeah,
they don't use it in isolation. It's used as part of a ceremony. It's used as part of a prayer.
Yes.
Yeah.
The same as smoking that pipe and using the tobaccos in their prayer.
Yes, right. But the prayer is the thing. That's what you're saying, William, which we understand. It makes a lot of sense to us. You're calling on a higher power. You're increasing the vibration. I mean, certainly you talk about it in the book, and you mentioned this earlier about porn and how it's such a low vibration. It really attracts lower entities.
As you're asking that question, I'm thinking back on porn when I was a kid, which was basically Playboy.
Right.
Yes.
Which I don't even think would pass for porn nowadays. It's just sort of, artful photography of nudes versus porn today. And, I have to know what I'm up against. And I've watched some of that stuff. And, it is just so, again, it's like the zombie TV shows. It's very much like desensitizing and dehumanizing other people, so that I don't really see much of a difference there. The porn that I've watched, it's pretty abusive stuff. It's very violent. Mm-hmm. It's very aggressive, and it's very selfish.
Definitely nothing warm and loving, that's for sure.
Well, no, but it's not intended to be. It's intended to be, hard and fast, and there's a means to an end. Right.
And it is very manipulative. So I've seen men talk about that and say that they don't get into this whole thing because they feel manipulated by it. They don't want to be a part of it. And so that's a lot of what we're talking about tonight, is not wanting to be manipulated by anything. Mm-hmm. So whether it's some construct or something that you're watching, or it's a ghost or a demon, you don't want to be on the receiving end of any manipulation. You want your freedom, your independence, you want the ability to choose.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, too, Patricia, is that nobody's a victim here. We are hardwired to respond to goodness and kindness, and we are also blessed with, every one of us is blessed with an inner intuition. Now, some of that may get blocked up depending upon what you choose to do or take into your body. But if it doesn't, it's actually a cliche at this point. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Don't go there. Don't be in a relationship with that person, and so on. People know this, but sometimes they suppress it for various reasons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Now here's another question from Sonic 1812B. Wants to know, do demons attach themselves to criminals? And do they do that at a young age, or what do they do with criminals? What makes these people criminals? Is it demons?
I can't say that I can state that generically across the board. I think if you do your homework and the research, when we're talking about criminals especially criminals who are murderers, mm-hmm. Part of me feels such an empathy for these people because I think they can't stop themselves. Mm. And in fact, there are cases where those people, especially serial killers, they have been in communication with law enforcement, and they've said things like, "Please stop me."
Wow.
So I feel as though, there's an element there that has actually taken over, and I think that their personality has become a bit blurred. Does that happen at an early age? I don't know that I can say that with certainty, but there are people that are certainly born into situations that are predisposed perhaps to making them vulnerable for spiritual siege.
Exactly. Well, let's go back to what we started talking about, because we're coming to the end of the show, and we started talking about ETs. Have you had any experience with ETs?
That's an interesting question. Not that I can recall, and not directly that I can recall. But I will say that since I was a very young child, I've always had an intense curiosity. I grew up in the era of Chariots of the Gods, which was a hugely popular book in the early 70s. I've always had a great interest in that. Was fascinated by Close Encounters of the Third Kind when that movie came out. I've always been open-minded. I had some really weird stuff go on when I was a kid that was more like encountering beings that might be associated with the fairy realm, and I've never really been public about that. But now I'm kind of wondering if there wasn't some masquerading or what's called a glamour going on there, so that I wouldn't be too terribly freaked out. But it's something that I'm interested in. I think that they're well aware of who I am and what I'm doing, and I like to think that they like me, the good ones at least.
I'm quite sure they do.
Otherwise, it would be zap.
You got a lot of followers that would be after their little fannies, that's for sure.
Right. Well, it's interesting, William. Andrew Puharich, who was a great psychic researcher and medical doctor, always used to say that behind every great psychic is an extraterrestrial.
Oh, my.
Yes, indeedy.
Well, that would explain a lot.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Yes. Yeah, I mean, so many questions that we have about all of these interdimensionals, and we know, you know a lot because you have worked with these energies and you've helped people to get rid of the ones that are negative and destructive. And, but yet, again, you have such a grounded, balanced way about looking at all of this. It's really great to have you talk about this on the air tonight to all of our people.
Well, it's very sweet of you to say that. I like to think that I'm a nice guy. I'd like to think that I'm a credible person, and I don't wish to do or say anything to undermine that credibility. If people are putting their trust or their faith in me, I want to be genuine and authentic, and I like to keep it real. So that's why this book is, I think, pretty easy to follow, lays it out in layman's terminology, and tells people what's what.
Yes, and I also, again, want to tell everybody that you do readings for people, private readings, right?
Yes, I do.
And people can book a reading with you on your website, which is williamstillman.com. Now, can people reach you on the website if they have an area that needs to be cleared? Is that something they can call you for?
Well, it's not something that I've ever tried to do remotely. It's something that I could, conceivably talk someone through. But honest to goodness, everything anybody would need to know is in this book.
A book is wonderful.
That's right. Yeah, it is. It's terrific. Again, the name of it is Under Spiritual Siege, How Ghosts and Demons Affect Us and How to Combat Them. And again, everything's very grounded in this book. Anybody can do what you're suggesting.
Absolutely. And it is our birthright as human beings to do what's in there in terms of, taking control, feeling well, being empowered, caring for other people, and also recognizing your own spiritual gifts and talents. There's a good section of the book about that. And then what to do with it. Yeah.
Right. Now, what about angels? Do you see them?
I see them very rarely, to be honest with you. I see spirit guides much more frequently. I see angels very rarely. When I see them, they show themselves to me as an enormous column of fluid golden light directly behind the client.
Oh, wonderful.
Beautiful. Is there?
I don't see them very often, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. I know some people are big angel people, and that's what they do. It's not that way with me, though.
Well, and it doesn't sound like a lot of clients bring them in either.
No, as I said, I see more spirit guides than angels.
How do the spirit guides appear to you? Do they look like they would in human form?
Yes, they also stand directly dead center behind a client, and they appear in human form as either male or female. On rare occasion, I'll get a male and female, or two males, sometimes twins.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, with the angels, let's go back to that for a second. You said a big column of light. It's, I'm sure, glowing and vibrating. And do you ever hear any particular music or a vibration that goes with that?
No, it's just huge. It's the only way I know how to. It's just enormous, like the biggest pillar you could imagine, and yet it has sort of a fluidity or almost a liquidity to it. It's a golden column, and that's how I know to say it's an angel.
Beautiful. You know, years ago, for some reason, I was doing something, and what came to mind was a guide around me named Clarence. And I've had Clarence with me ever since, all these years, even to the point when I can't find a parking place somewhere else. Okay, Clarence, open up the waters. And all of a sudden, there's my parking place. But this has gone on for years, and friends laugh at me when it happens. But then they ask, can I borrow your Clarence? No, I'm not going to let you take my Clarence.
He's yours. They've got their own. I think he was a smoker, PK. Have you ever smelled cigar smoke or cigarette smoke?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think your guide was a smoker at one time when he was in human form. He shows himself as a very mature man, an older man. He wears a bow tie.
Oh, very dapper young man.
Dapper, yes.
Good.
Adorable. Yes. Okay, now here's one last question from the chat room. And this is again from Sonic. And the question is, what are shadow people? Demons or angels?
Yeah, interesting question. Well, Sonic, I want to relate back to something I said earlier where PK asked about, are there colors that people can focus on? And I said, well, anything light or pastel colored, because anything that is black or gray or an angry red color, I would associate with something that is not helpful. So when we think about shadow people, meaning shadows that are in human form, we tend to think about energies that are black or gray. Sometimes people see them against total blackness, and they are blacker than the blackness of the background. So I don't know that they are demons. They might be, first cousins twice removed, perhaps. I don't think that they're good. I will say that.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, that is a great answer to that question. So, Sonic, I hope you feel confident in what William just told you so you can separate these things out if you happen to see any of them. But there's just so much in the world today, so much in so many different dimensions coming at us. And again, everybody should read your book, Under Spiritual Siege, How Ghosts and Demons Affect Us and How to Combat Them. The author is Bill Stillman. If you would like a reading, a private reading with William, you can have one. And you can go to his website, which is williamstillman.com. I know, William, you did a reading for me not too long ago. It was great. Before our first meeting on the air.
Yes.
So I highly recommend you, William, for your private readings as well as your book, Under Spiritual Siege. And we're going to have you back and have you do readings because that's something we didn't have time for tonight, but we'll definitely bring you back for another go-round so that you can read for all of our people or as many people as we can get on the air.
I'd love it. It was fascinating, and I had a ball tonight. I think we covered the gamut.
Yeah,
we did. It's like
made it so much fun.
Night. Yes, it was great fun having you on. Now, the next few weeks, we're having a lot of ET stuff coming up. UFO experts. It is going to be a roller coaster for sure. be sure to join us. Make sure you go to also supernaturalgirlz.com to get all kinds of information there, books that we have for sale that are great, as well as the Twin Shamans coming up from Peru. If you're interested, there's contact information there where you can sign up and come and get a private session with a Twin Shaman. So, anyways, everybody, it's been great. It's been fun. And until next week, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everyone.
Good night.